As Lin Yutang once said, there is something in a cup of tea that leads us into a world of quiet contemplation. So let us pause. A very warm welcome to this 2023 first installation of the E-Lounge. Today we invite you to tea with us and our guest, an entrepreneur, MC, award-winning broadcaster, businessman, philanthropist, husband, and father, all with a velvet voice and an infectious energy, who remains grounded and gracious. Thabo Mokwele, affectionately known as Tibos, on his book titled Pause. Pause is a compilation of Thabo's pearls of wisdom, lessons learned about life, God, money, relationships, parenting, and most importantly, self-mastery. His knowledge has been acquired by reading other philosophers' views on life and love, and from interviewing entrepreneurs and entertainers about self-sufficiency. Thabo shares what he knows, what he practices, and what still challenges him. Revered as the man with the magic behind the microphone, Thabo Mokwele has been blessed with a business acumen to admire, a philanthropic persuasion, and a glorious gift of the gab. This makes for an interesting engagement for this E-Lounge. Insights and inspiration stimulate great conversation. The E-Lounge is one of our knowledge share platforms anchored on our values of learning and leadership. We do hope that you will tune in, you will engage, and take away this knowledge from this great conversation. And do remember that those who desire to lead should read.
I bargained with life for a penny, and life would not pay no more. However, I begged at the evening when I counted my scanty store, for life is a just employer. He gives you what you ask, but once you set the wages, you must bear the task. I worked for a menial hire, only to learn, dismayed, that any wage I had asked of life would have willingly paid. My guest today has asked a lot out of life, has asked a lot out of the universe, has redirected his life in ways that even myself, when reading the book, I thought, no way, he couldn't have. But he has done exactly that. And I have him in studio all to myself for the next 2 hours. Tibos Mokwele. Welcome, Dr. Mokwele. How are you doing?
Michelle, I'm all good. Thank you so much for the invite. Oh, what an intro. Thank you.
Now, where do we start? Or do we start in the beginning?
Like I said, even when I wrote that book, I was like, start anywhere you wish.
Start anywhere I wish. But let's start in the beginning. And I think a lot of people don't know that part. And the same way, I myself got to learn that I've only been past the cover of the book and maybe the introduction, but I never ever really read the chapters in between.
True.
Who is Tibos Mokwele?
Oh, you start with a difficult question. Oh, my word. Because that's exactly the first chapter, because you start asking the who. And when you say who, are you asking, what is your name? My name, Tibos Mokwele. Who are you? Oh, my word. And that's a journey, right? Yeah. It's a journey. You can answer that question any way you wish, but in the true essence of it all is beyond your name, who are you? And so far, my life is defined by my family and what, because it's an extension of who I am and is the reason I do what I do. I'm a father of 5, a happily married man to a beautiful, beautiful Mapaseka Mokwele. My friend, my best friend, my cheerleader, my number 1 supporter. I don't want to say fan, because you know what happens with fans, right? Load shedding days, their team. So I am that guy, a broadcaster, and I'm using broadcaster not loosely, because you can be a presenter, but you earn the right to be called a broadcaster, because there's a certain level you must reach for your for those who were there before you to give you that title. I was given this title less than 5 years ago, actually, by my favorite programmer, Neil Johnson. He says, T, you're no longer a radio presenter, you are a broadcaster. So I take it with pride because here's a Hall of Famer giving it to me as well. So those are the things that really, really define to a bit who I am. A God-fearing man. Christ is at my center. In everything that I do, prayer is at the center of that. I ask before I, even reach out or even take. What else am I leaving out? A philanthropist at heart, but right now survival economics are really making it very difficult for me to do that. But I like, at least, even though I cannot give monetarily, I avail myself with time, and maybe the book is also an extension of that.
Tibos, let's roll back. The challenge with a lot of people is they see T-Bose and they see Tibos the broadcaster and all of that.
Yeah.
But they don't see the village that raised Tibos.
Yeah.
Let's start in the village.
Yes.
And then we will get into this broadcasting thing.
Yes.
And how we ended up in broadcasting.
Yeah. I'm a boy born in Soweto.
Okay.
To Jonas and Betty. I've dedicated the book to them. Raised by a loving grandmother, Sabina Raltoshanomsia. That is my mother's mother. I knew my first crush was with her. You know what I mean? Like they say, you're your daughter's first crush. My first crush was my grandmother. She saw in me a gentleman. I knew what breakfast in bed is at the age of 4.
Okay.
Because of Sabina.
Yes.
And this is in Dube village, Soweto. So while I'm there, obviously raised by her, I vividly remember the principal of Sizanani Primary School seeing me sitting on the stoop with my grandmother. And it was those days where principals were not stuck in the office. They will, patrol the immediate surrounding to look for talent or clients, if you will. She saw me. She says, "What is this boy doing?" Because I was shy of 5 at the time, being a January baby. He says, "Next year, January, this boy must come to school." At 5, I was in school already, doing my grade 1, sub A as it's called. It was a Zulu medium school. That was my first foundational of education. Why? Because it was a walking distance from home. Fast forward to my parents moving from Soweto to Tembisa because of Isando, the industrial corridor. That's where both of them were working. My mom was still having some jobs in Johannesburg because she was a seamstress. My dad being a printing man, he was running a printing company for Bushbuck Allen in Isando. So we had to then move with my sister to Tembisa. And that's how I became a Tembisa bred boy. Now, being away from my grandmother, I think, was the hardest thing ever. Because I know after I've moved, because they don't explain anything to you when that happens. I moved not necessarily out of her will, but she was not feeling great. She was frail at the time. And they felt it was just still going to be a burden on her. So I moved with my parents. You don't get the same care. Exactly. Exactly. So, they say grandparents say yes to what parents say no to. Yeah. So my girl, then I hear she passed on. And they say I didn't even cry. I think there was so much of a big shock it was to lose her. So anyway, bred in Tembisa. Those were my formative years. The uprisings, Thabo 85, 86, forced me to then be moved to my other girl, my father's mother, Maria Manoku Mokwele. Now, even when you get there, there's a soft landing. I didn't like sour milk. Because you know what it does to you.
Yeah. Especially
If there's anything Nali Nonodi we fought about is me putting sugar in my ingomazi. Everything else we agreed.
Yeah.
Oralokaskaki and all of that. Yeah. Best of friends. Why do you put sugar in this thing? That is the only. So I'm a boy raised by matriarchs, or let me say centered by matriarchs. And obviously my father with a hawk's eye making sure that I become the man that I am today.
Fast forward. At some point in time, you know, a man wants to become better than his father.
Oh, yeah.
And then you know, at a point where you go, well, what does a man do with his life?
Yes.
Before we found radio.
Yeah, exactly. This is still before the microphone.
Before we found radio. Which was quite a strange coincidence.
Yes.
Myself being in that field, when I was at university, I was also behind the mic. Oh. But anyway, let's continue. This is your story, not mine.
Okay.
I will still tell mine.
See the parallels. Okay. My story started back, I'll take you back to, the year was 1985, 86. Stats SA, the bureau then was coming to houses, obviously, to collect data. My mom was homesick. She didn't go to work. And for me as a boy, that was exciting because my mom is here. I didn't want to go play. So I remember when the data collector came in to interview my mom about this. They were sitting in the kitchen. I didn't want to move away from the kitchen door. My mom was trying to chase me away so that she can have this time. But something said, no, stay there. And there was no way she could postpone this conversation. These are the things that our parents don't share with us. Because I feel that is the day I decided that I'm going to be better than them in a good way. Yeah. Not because I look down on what they have achieved. This is the very day that I found out that my dad has a standard 6. My mom has a standard 8. And that's how far they have gone. Yeah. I wouldn't have known if it wasn't for this day. Now, do you see, now I understood in my, because I was what do they call it, preteen. Yeah. Is this why these two emphasize education so much? Now I see it. We are told, do this, don't do that. You are never given the background to why. I got my why that day. And I knew on that day that benchmark, I'm going to kill it, I'm going to break it to make them proud. So I knew what I was reaching for. Because the one thing that we never tell is our parents are the very trampolines we need to use to reach for our clouds or stars, whatever you want to aim for. And that's what the generation should do. A generation, the new generation must be better than the previous one. That's what breaking a cycle means. If you are not raising the bar with the next generation, you have failed. If you are the current generation, you haven't raised the bar from the previous generation, you have failed. It's as simple as that, because that's your benchmark. And I'm not talking about wealth. I'm not talking only about health. I'm not only talking about education. Choose a variable. I chose education. To you, it might be, I don't want to father a child outside wedlock because I've seen it happen in my life. You have chosen a variable. And you put your efforts, you put your even direction towards that. It means you're going to do everything in your power to make sure that that doesn't happen, because you have chosen. Why? Because you feel important. You feel it is important for you to then raise the bar. My firstborn son, he's 31 now. At matric, I had a son. And I said to him, I've made all the mistakes for you not to repeat. Not only is he not a father yet, he has studied outside the province. He went to Cape Town for his varsity studies. Tick, he has done better than me. Okay. He has done his in-service training in Beijing, China, for his industrial engineering. tick. My daughter, a CA in training, she just finished her articles with SNG now.
Yeah.
She's just waiting, obviously, to do her CTA, to finish her CTA. She studied in UCT. When it comes to holidays, my daughter will tell you, I know where China is, I know where Hong Kong is, I know where Singapore is, I know where Dubai is, I know. Tick, tick, tick. My first time in a flight, I was already on YFM working to Durban.
Okay.
My first time in a flight. I remember them bringing in food. Osmat Lakala, our sales manager, and I looked at her and said, Osmat Lakala, Pela, Kwena, we send Redley, Monagna, Chelta Patala. I said, Thabo, relax.
Relax.
It's part of the package.
Yes. Tibos, you're a fairly grounded man.
Thank you.
In your, what do they call it? In your profession or in the industry as a whole.
Yeah.
When people get to the level where you are as a broadcaster, you know, there's a lot of change. It comes with the perks of being, you know, charging a certain amount of money for you to show up, kind of a thing. But beyond that, it also comes with the fan club, as you call it, that, you know, they blow your trumpet and everything else.
Yeah.
Having understood you being raised by Bukuku, both of them, and having your mother being a very big anchor of your life, I want to talk about the role of women in what do they call it in our society and what do they call it, and the space we're not giving them to be able to do what we've always allowed them to do. Yeah. Because those are some of the insights that, as one draws from what do they call it from the book, one says, but there is a path here, and we need to explore that path a little bit more. There's a whole lot of that stuff, but let's talk about something else. While talking about this, is your view of happiness is intriguing to me.
Okay.
Yes. It is intriguing to me. But I want to relate it back to those three women. Well, four of them now.
Yes.
Yes, because
yes.
I cannot leave out Osmo Posiga out of this.
Yeah.
And we will have other conversations. And my team asked me to ask you a question.
Oh, wow.
The what happened then.
Okay.
But, yes. Yes. Yes.
Let's talk about the role first.
Yeah.
If the center can hold, things fall apart.
That's true. That's true.
The front wheel of the, don't even focus about the back of the bicycle, the front wheel. Should any of that spoke, right, lose its connection with the center, what happens to the control of the wheel?
It becomes wobbly.
So it means you need to be, there's a need for you to be grounded. And you then realize how strong the teachings that you had from these matriarchs ground you not only as a man, but as a human being. Sensitizing you to your world. In the work, in the environment that I'm in, going back to that point, it's easy to get lost because of the adulations.
Yes.
And you think it's you.
I like that. It
is not you.
Yes.
It is what you represent.
Okay.
It is when it comes to fanship, it is not you, it is what you do. It is what you represent. People want it. It's like a moth to a light.
Yes.
Dim the light, where's the moth? It goes and seeks another.
Yes, another light.
That's why it keeps on moving. That's why I call them fans. It's fans, right? But a supporter. Light or not, it's there. Yes, there were moments where, Tibos, man, wherever you go, screamer.
Yes.
It gets to your head, right? And then you get home, and there's this, call it a smack. You know a grandmother's smack? But you get it from a whiff of a home-cooked meal by your wife. And it's still a smack. Whatever you're calling it. And that says to you, you are home now. You better be grounded. You better remember who you are. You be Tibos out there or Thabo come. Now, should you want the flary stuff that you got from your fans, I can tell you now, you are living in a delusion. you are delusional. Because real love has reprimand, has care, has both sides of the good and the bad. That's love. That's why they scolded you. Being your grandmother or your mother, you don't run away from if you know.
You run to them.
You run to them. But you are still grabbing them, crying on them, because you know that's love.
Yeah.
Which goes back to the equation about pain and gain.
Yes.
You will never get one without the other. So is happiness, right? So home is not a place where it gives you peace, yes. It provides it as a constant, right? But it doesn't mean they won't reprimand you or call you out. Why? Because we're not going to head of the family. Really? You are human first. And this is a human experience. I'm giving you a very long-winded answer because I want you to understand that the question about happiness is complex because it is not a goal, it's a destination.
I love the conversation because remember the grounding, because I mean we all know Mapaseka from just seeing her, and you're thinking Tibos' wife is so pretty, I don't think she can even shout. But you know the interesting thing about what you've just raised now, and you know, the team as we were sitting there, they said to me, but Tibos, no, we relaying the last time when she was not very happy with you.
Yeah.
And the question is, we all thought, no, it must be Tibos. Because of Tibos and all sort of things. But they said to me, you must know we are invested in this. We are part of the family.
And thank you. I mean, it shows love, right? Yeah. But more than anything, right now, obviously, we attend weddings. Yes. You do what, and soon you're asked, Marikaru, you are here, guys. Can you just give a toast or maybe a word of advice to the couple? And funny enough, just last night I was having a conversation and we're like, and she asked it so emphatically. She says, sometimes you can wish God can just teach you a lesson without you experiencing it first.
Yes, without experiencing the pain.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, yeah. So God is more concerned with us growing than us being comfortable. Are you aware?
I have just learned.
Yes. Yes. Because every single day, you wake up with pain and constant work. And when I say pain, I'm not talking headache or anything. Pain, the discomfort of leaving your comfortable bed. Yes. You are leaving comfort, right? To get out of a comfort place is pain. To do what? To continue working. Ask a rich man, right? They may stop digging for gold, like Patrice Motsepe, but they won't stop working. Why? That's how God intended for this world to be. You will experience pain as in discomfort, and you will forever be working. That's your reality. Quickly accept that. 2, you have to go through this lesson so that when you speak, you are speaking not knowledge, but you're speaking wisdom. The two are not the same. Knowledge is what you know. Wisdom is how that knowledge was applied and the experience it has given you. Now you're speaking it differently, right?
But Tibos, here's an argument. I can hear a youngster out there watching on YouTube and he's quoting Sean Carter when he says, fame is the strongest drug known to man. That feed of dopamine, the need for you to be acknowledged and everything else. And here we are, you're talking about living for the greater good. But yet at the same time, the person is saying, but when do I live for myself? And they're saying this Thabo is now has made it now. He can talk, in convoluted ways.
You just quoted my favorite person in the world.
Yes.
I love Mr. Carter.
Yes.
I adore. One of my things that I must make sure that I do before I leave the planet is just to have a chat with him. Whether be it on TV or privately. Love Jay-Z. No. Wisdom says to you, are you aware that fame is, yes, as much as a drug, reality is reality. After fame, when you put that head on that pillow, reality hits you. You are nothing but human. Okay? So I'm coming back to the point here, what happened. Maturity is the biggest elephant in the room when it comes to people who are trying to live a life together. You will never be able to face, or you'll be tripped by the challenges that love and life throws at you. Why? Because maturity is still not there. You know what maturity does? Maturity helps you to pick the fight. Maturity helps you to choose the words. Maturity teaches you that, wait a minute, I actually don't need to go right now.
Yeah.
The car wash can wait. I can be late for the gig. Why? Because maturity says, I can't leave home.
Midway, as they say, learn to forgive so that you do not bleed on people that didn't. Forgiving yourself.
Oh, yeah.
Post the episode and everything else.
Yeah.
One had to have a workshop with themselves.
Yes.
What was your workshop and
And at this time, I'm just a church-going member.
Okay.
For those who don't know, but at the time, because I felt, and this is the reason why ZCC worked for me.
Yeah.
One, I was raised by Sabina, Musaidwadi Fela.
Yeah.
She sang for you until you feel better.
Yeah.
So I was yearning that. One. Two, I want to be in a company of men. I'm tired of boys. I want to be in a company of men. Men who will tell me, who will see beyond what I think I am.
Who will see beyond the faith.
Thank you. Nothing strips you naked like trouble, where you have nothing but to be on your knees.
Thank God we're recording all of this.
Thank you.
Strips you
right? So
like trouble.
So here you are. You have nothing but your music. Even this music that you're playing doesn't all sound any good anymore. So there's only one thing left to do: silence. Can you sit quietly, do nothing? You're not going to go hungry. You're going to have a roof over your head. But I want you to sit silently and deal with you. Where it comes from, you don't know. You must just know that somebody has taken over. Somebody is now in control of whatever it is that you need to heal and learn from what you just gone through. And that's how you deal with it. Others will numb it with alcohol. Others will numb it with other externalities. Yeah. But a man must face himself. I think it was St. James who said, what is a man if he can conquer himself? Right? And that was my moment for me. So we are against the euphoria, when other men you can see are celebrating, you can't help but say, but why am I not that happy?
Yes.
It's the same song. That man is happy. I'm not. Why? And it will be folly to go to that man and ask him, why are you happy? What if he's like me?
He's struggling
as I am. Because I'm going to him seeking motivation if I go there asking him questions. But now that he's there, it's a point of reflection. Do you want that state? Do you want to be like that? Are you aware that's what you are, by the way? Only if you can take yourself out of the rut that you're in. I need you to see, this is God now, I need you to see, one, who you are, whose you are, because you are my child, right? And what I have in store for you.
there's an involvement of you letting go of the ego.
Yeah.
And I go back to the industry that one finds himself in, or in success. It's not even an industry thing.
Yeah.
You may find guys who are in what I do. But when that loneliness, the moment, it's referred to as the loneliness of command. And at that point in time, you are not commanding any business. You're commanding yourself.
Mm-hmm.
When a decision is going to be made, and it has to be made by you,
mm-hmm.
there's nobody else who needs to make that decision.
Mm-hmm.
Now, at that point in time, when the time comes, says, you know where your happiness lies.
Mm.
I can hear a lot of people going out there and says, man, Tibos, how did you ask Mapasika to come back? Like,
yeah. Yeah.
What words were you using, you know?
Yeah.
But I want to go past something else. The duality of the idea of all the best. Or may you live in interesting times.
Mm-hmm.
The duality of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you speak a lot about there is no happiness without pain.
Mm-hmm.
And there is no pain
without gain.
Without gain.
Mm-hmm.
And you were workshopping yourself at that point in time and saying,
yeah. That's why reading helps.
Okay.
That's when I met the breakthrough experience at John DiMartini.
Yes.
What God Wants and Neil Donald Walsh.
Yes.
The Alchemist, Paulo Coelho,
yeah.
And so many others. Mm. I'm mentioning those three because they were very, very instrumental.
Yes.
And they show you, when you're aiming low, man. Yeah? Are you aware how this world works?
Yes.
Are you aware who you are in this place, right? And then, as you are doing all this reflective work, right? And remember, at the time, one thing that God has given my partner and I is friendship. Yeah. Even during our separation, we're still the best of friends because we're hands-on to Thabo, our son.
Yes.
So sometimes it's him with me, him with her, but there's a moment where it's all of us.
Okay.
And it was at one of all of us occasions. And I looked at it and said, what happened? It came out of nowhere. And the maturity answer came from her. She was like, we were immature. And I was like, dude, spot on. And she was like, yeah. And that was the end of our conversation.
Wow.
As in, that was the end of that conversation.
Yes.
From there, Mr. Manny, I know his parents are here, he's having fun. And he wanted a toy. And we could only find it in one shopping mall. And we had to drive there. But obviously, when you're driving there, here's the middle, he's holding both our hands.
Yes.
We're going there to buy this thing. There's a point where he lets go to rush to this thing, but I couldn't stop it. I just held her hand. She looked at me, she pulled it out actually and looked at me, and I said, yay. And I think that's when the magic happened. I don't even remember the words. She'll remember the words. I said, are you for real? I said, dude, this is it. And sometimes it's not even words, it's process. Because while God was working on me, he was working on her, but she will speak for herself. So, mistakes must happen, right? It's what you do with them. Are you going to learn from them, or are they going to define you? Are you able to be naked and then reflect on what you have gone through? When only one, without the help of a psychologist, psychiatrist, whoever, only one, and be honest. I messed up here, I messed up there, I could have done that better. What's the lesson here?
You workshop yourself.
That's you stripping yourself of ego.
Yes.
Because I think it's T.D. Jakes who said it. Are una non caso. He was actually saying, can you stand yourself? One, naked. Two, perfume. Can you stand up? Because if you can, that's self-acceptance. You are at the bare, you are at the core of you. Now, self-acceptance is equal to self-love. Because it means you are centered. You know, so when something is coming your way and it doesn't suit you, you're going to see it from a distance.
But Tibos, the self-love, and you go back to where we started off with the grounding and everything else. And the future challenges that most people have, it's never the grounding, because the grounding has always been there. It's that corner that you take, and then that ink falls on the page.
Look, sometimes even the grounding is not there.
Okay.
Highlighting in your eyes and ears, it is not adequate.
Okay.
I hear.
Yes.
You were raised by a single dad. Where's my mom? I was raised by a single mother. Where's my dad? So it is not adequate in your eyes.
Okay.
Are you going to let that define you?
That's how a lot of people define themselves.
Exactly my point.
Yeah.
You are walking around, right, with a debit, with a minus. My challenge to you is look around you. Who was there? Who was there? As much as mom or dad was there, but there was also someone playing another role, dual, to you. John DiMartini in the book, The Breakthrough Experience, forces you to face your negatives because those are the things that we fail to face. We only like the sweet stuff, the positive stuff. I didn't like how strict my father was because I wanted, come on. I'm a boy, I want you, I mean, if you don't take me into your confidence about this world, who will I learn it from, right? And then he made me realize, you do exercises, obviously, once you read that book. No, man, my issue is with my dad. And is with what? How, is the how.
Yes.
But he says, wait a minute. Is he teaching you what he knows? Chances are yes. He's giving you his own experience because he turned out okay.
Yes.
So chances are, should he repeat this, you'll also turn out okay. Yet when you are the child of this generation, you're expecting a different, outcome and or incubation.
Yes.
He's there. Is he not? Another example. Your dad was not there. Uncle Tep was there. Ushap. Yeah, Uncle Tep was sharp. Uncle, keep on thinking with her. Hey, Mama would love to dur. Okay? Obotla is the one just underneath that.
Yes.
It is not what you wanted. It's at least something you asked and it was given, based on affordability or whatever the case may be. You still come back and say, now my dad was not there. Wait a minute, you had a father figure. When you ask, isn't that the law of the universe?
Yes.
Ask and it shall be given. Yes. You ask, the universe gave you a father figure. Because, where's your dad?
Yes, where he is.
He gave you a father figure, somebody who can give you that which you feel is not catered to give you what? To give you balance, right? And you're still upset, and maybe you should, but do not negate the fact that you were provided, provision was there. So instead of accepting a gift, you are limiting it because of the hand that has given it.
But Tibos, when you look at those things, and you know, a lot of the guests I've had here, and we've chatted about things, and I lament today's, setup that we have. we were raised as a communal being. And we cannot hope that, we can rebuild the communities that we had. We can, but, we live in gated communities. You don't even know who lives by the neighbors.
The village is gone.
The village is gone. Now, with the village gone, how do we recreate that magic in the areas where we are? I mean, and going back to who's Tibos? What is the impact that Tibos brings to life? And how, how does somebody think of, without trying to replicate Tibos, think of their world and saying, this is how I want to create a village where I'm sitting? Yes.
How big was the house?
Very small.
How many bedrooms?
Including the attachments that were made there, probably about 3, 4, 5.
How many people were in that house?
A lot of people.
How many?
Probably including my aunts that still lived in the house and the grandkids, about 10 people.
You've answered my question. You've answered your question.
Okay.
Because it is starting there.
Yes.
The village started by the incubation that happened in that one household. Sabina had a 2-bedroom house. Right? I mean, if I say 12, I think I'm undercutting someone,
Yes.
including her great-grandkids.
Oh, okay.
In that one house. Today, those who know Mabazaga and I will tell you, really,
Yes.
there's always somebody in there. That's how you create a village. It starts at home. Because should you have this fantasy of you want to break down walls and think you're going to create a village, think again. Use what you have. Start with what you have. Can you change one person at a time? Or even maybe in your lifetime, just one. You have done the world some good. Because that one person is a nation. Louis Farrakhan said it better. He says, no nation shall rise above its women. Meaning, you suppress her, you suppress the village. Because she's the first education that a child attends. Miles Monroe, talking about the very same parallel in that conversation, he says, when I hold an apple seed in my hand, what am I holding? You will see a seed. I see an apple tree. And somebody may say, I see apples. Because when you plant this seed in good soil, a tree comes up. That tree brings fruit, which is apples. In those apples, there are other seeds, right? Should you plant them as well in the same fertile soil, you've got other trees. So this one seed is a forest. So you are saving one person a seed with what you have. They eat what you eat. They share the very same shelter. You give what you can, right? You open a door where you can. Whether they use it or not, you have done it. And they can look back and says, there I was given an opportunity. I either used it or messed it up. It starts with nephews and nieces. It sometimes even goes to adopted families. We have more friends who are like family than our own families. A village. Our kids, our friends' kids, when they play with ours, they see each other as brothers and sisters because we spend so much time together. A made-up, chosen family. A village. Tomorrow, when we decide the V-class, short left, let's go somewhere. Yeah, right? Yes, let's go somewhere. Yes. Right? They're there. And how did daddy hey! Yes. Happy with each other. Yes. Village. Now I'm not there. But Tsepo is there. My son is maybe once it's got a stumbling block somewhere. Yeah. He says, wait. Uncle Tsepo. How can I forget Uncle Tsepo? He rushes to your office. Yes. And you see him like, Thabo, what are you doing here? Yes. Like, no, Uncle Tsepo, I need to see. I'm sorry, but no, don't apologize. What's happening? Uncle Tsepo, I need to be at the airport.
Yes.
Don't ask any question. Here's my Gautrain card. Village. We romanticize nostalgia so much that we fail to see it happening in reality today. We are very romantic about the past. Very. The work is now, it's here. How much of what we have are we using to keep the values of those who raised us?
You're breaking it down in its simplest form. For me, and I'll be honest with you, I'm one of those people who romanticize the village, you know. So I am, you know, I always tell a lot of people, I love dawn. The reason why we call it Nakatamahuakomu, you know, it's that as the sun breaks and you can see the, you know, the horns of the kettle in that light, it's one of the most beautiful scene you would ever see. And maybe from that nature of what do they call it, or then you miss that. You would like to go back to that. But I think the way you break it down, to me, is the village is there. It's there. Embrace it. Embrace it. Huh?
You see, that's what I'm saying is we are too harsh on ourselves. We are too unfair to ourselves. To a point that you feel so under pressure, you feel so underappreciated. And not because it's not coming from, because remember, we are a nation of givers, right? We give, we support. And maybe you are yearning for somebody to say you're doing a great job. Well, I will wake you up very quickly and say, you're not doing it for you, by the way. Your honor will come in the success of that seed that you have planted. It's all great. We love our memories. But if we were to be honest, Rodishadi Budi was not really a nice thing to do.
No.
Not at all. It was harsh on a young boy. It was, yes, it trained you, it showed you pain. Okay? It molded you, pain, right? All of that to mold what? A chief operating officer of the most shining examples of what this country can be. From what? From seeing dawn.
Yes.
Appreciating the simpler things in life.
That brings me to something that is important to you. And now I don't want to start it on the one end because we're going to miss the rest of the dimensions. You know, the breakthrough experience, the 7 values. And I call it, what do they call it? The 7 values of wealth.
Oh, yeah.
To me, if you were to define wealth in its single dimension, that's not wealth. You're
failed. Some people are rich, all they have is money.
Yes, they're so poor.
They're so poor, all they have is money. Right, yes.
Now, the wholesomeness that reading brings. You know, we're sitting here because it's about reading, and out of a love for just picking up a book and carrying on with it. I now sit here and have the pleasure of sitting in front of guys like you. And just purely from the love of just being able to pick up a book and reading it.
Isn't it amazing that the things you love will just open your doors?
Yes. I want to talk first about loving what you do. Because most people, they do what pays the rent.
And some not out of choice, eh?
I know that, but there's that bit where one has to be able to say, but I've done this enough. It doesn't make sense anymore.
Yeah.
Loving what you do. Having studied as an engineer, which I said, no way. And somebody said, if you listen to the man and the way he prepares for his shows and the detail he goes into, only an engineer can carry on like this.
Exactly.
So I said, you're right, because I had never ever noticed the similarities of how I would go to the nth degree in making sure that I have everything in one place and, you know, and manage that. But it comes from loving what you do.
Yeah.
And then going into radio and, you know, Mama Betty saying, Monica, you can carry on.
Yeah, yeah.
When you would have been paid this much and
Yes.
and being paid this much.
Yeah.
I've got a youngster out there, you know, who's sitting at this point in time and going, but I studied because I wanted to get out of poverty. I wanted to, you know, I wanted to do better than my dad.
Yes.
I don't actually love this accounting.
Yeah.
This being an engineer, business, I don't think I can be like that, Thabo.
Yeah.
It's not me.
It's true.
Not everybody will have a family that will support them in that manner.
True.
How does one actually just... And I'll talk to submitting to what do they call it?
Yes. It is
just, you know, just to demystify this thing of loving what you do. Because some people tend to get it wrong and think that loving what you do means something else. But if you talk about the passion for really what you do and you enjoy doing.
The chunk of loving what you do, aka passion, right, is clearly given as a definition that I've held on forever since I've heard it. I was in grade 12 when a career guidance teacher came in and said to us, "What are you going to do?" I said, we all chose careers based on our ability than what really interests us. And he said, let me tell you now, what is a career? We gave all sorts of definitions. He says a career is something you don't mind doing 24 hours a day. It starts there. Is it helping people? Okay. Is it curiosity around people? Is it listening to music? What is it that you don't mind doing 24 hours a day, and should I pay you for it, I'm going to look like a fool? So me being on radio, talking, playing music, oh, you want to pay me for this? Are you for real? I'll do this for free. They're like, no, that's actually, we'll pay you for it. So you are forever inspired to work because it's second nature. It may not necessarily be linked to what you have studied, right? But in what you have studied and what you do at work, the underpinning thing to it could be that. Yes. Could be there. You are an engineer. You are working with nothing but machine, no people, and you have passion for people. Ask yourself this question. What you are making and doing in that process, who's the end user? Does this thing land on people somewhere along the line? And when it lands, how does it land? I would have still been an engineer, I think. But I would have been an engineer maybe now in technology companies that have to do with music and people. Okay. You know what I mean? Yes. So the two variables for me was, I've got this curiosity for people. I love to watch them, hear them speak. That's why I always have questions, because I want to hear their views. But music must be part of that. So for you, what is it? I remember on campus, the holidays at December, we didn't come home. Yes. We stayed back so that we can help teachers to mark metric papers, which is extra work, extra cashiana to buy books, whatever. It was so boring. I was falling asleep. I took my Walkman to work. I went through a bunch of papers in 30 minutes than take the whole day. So the supervisor in there saw me and says, no, this guy's going to be distracted and make mistakes. He must take off those things. My productivity dropped. Already I knew. So there are things along the way that will tell you where you fit. So I just knew right there and there, for me to stay awake and inspired, music must be there. People must be at the core of it. So you can still use the same thing even if you're in accounting. It doesn't mean, therefore, change your job or change your career and be an HR person, unless that's what you want to do.
Yes.
But imagine being a CEO, imagine me being a CEO of Gautrain. right? I'm qualified. And I've got you as a COO. Yes, I'll hire people who are smarter than me, that's for sure, who will do the things that I should be doing, so to speak, an engineer, an accountant, and so on. But I will make sure it is fun to work at Gautrain. Why? Because it inspires me to keep going.
Yes.
Maybe there will be a playlist called Gautrain, your journey to the airport. I don't know, but it will be, you'll see in the projects that we do to make a Gautrain to be the best place to work at. Why? Because it's driven by what I'm passionate about.
Yes.
So it is not one-dimensional when we say do what you love, right? But there's a flip side to that conversation as well. Are you aware the education we're using today, even the whole thing that go to varsity, is industrialist thinking?
Yes.
Industrialist era thinking. They said to you and I, our generation and the generation before us, in terms of varsity goers, go there so that you can have a foot in the door.
Yeah.
When you have that paper. Does that paper carry weight today? What is the return on investment on education today? On a university degree? What is the return on investment on an MBA today? Zero. Close to zero, actually. Because you have people who have startups. Mark Zuckerberg is there to show you. Steve Jobs is there to show you that this model needed to change. Yeah. An argument was put on social media, and I joined it. And I was watching from a distance because, like I said, I constantly want to learn and see how people think. And this gentleman was saying, your child comes to you after matric and say, I want to travel Europe. I want to take a gap year. Please pay for my Europe trip. I want to spend a year traveling Europe so as I can figure out what is it that I want in life. You have invested money into an education policy to take them to school for 4 years. Which one are you going to grant? Go to varsity for 4 years or go and tour Europe for 1 year? I can answer this for you. You're going to say take the 4 years because that's the era you come from. Yes. And it's certain because you have gone through it, right? But the return on investment on these two
is different.
Totally different. This 1 year is going to yield more than this 4 years can ever yield. Because there's no better teacher than traveling. Seeing what the world does. Because you come back and knowing, okay, this is where I fit. When that child goes and studies now for those 4 years, they are going pinpoint for what they know they want to do. Not guessing, not hoping, spraying and hope it sticks. No. Yeah. So that's where the difference is. And this is the thinking that we need to start doing. My show today was exactly about that. Yes. What lies is society telling us? That we are still practicing today. Education is the key to success. Politicians are messiahs. Work hard, money will follow.
Tibos, let me ask you something. And for me, I hear you about what you just said now, but here's my challenge, and maybe it's a function of my education and training. I struggle with having a conversation with somebody who cannot think in a structured manner. and you know, and I've listened to you and I've listened to some of the conversations you've held with people. The structure is there, it's intriguing and it's there. And my argument is very simple, is education is not about you acquiring a qualification. Education is about training people to think in a structured manner. I don't suffer fools. I have no ability to have a long conversation with somebody who's randomly throwing facts all over the place and hoping that I'll get, what do they call it? I'll get convinced. No, it's bring me a structure. You can start randomly and speak about that and speak about this and speak about that, but at the end, I gotta be able to pull it back together again. Okay. Or you have the ability to pull it back together again so that you can maybe convince me or allow me to be able to think differently about how I walked into the room.
Yeah, I'm glad you interjected there because yes. I'm glad you did that because I wanted to qualify what I just said about education. Yes. Because I don't want somebody sitting there thinking, maybe this guy's school. No, yes. No. There's a movie, Colombiana.
Yes.
It's a girl who wants to avenge the death of his father. Her uncle says, you can't do this without going to school. You can't be an assassin without going to school. He says, no, I can. Just pull the trigger. He says, no, no, no. You need to know and understand the workings of the world before you can do that. You need to have the ability to critically think. So we think education gives you that. No. Education should teach you to have a view. And that view should help you to see different aspects, right? And be able to make them and structure them so that it makes sense for your world.
Yes.
And that's structured thinking for yourself.
Yes.
You're right. It's a foundation. It shouldn't define you, though. It's a tool.
There I agree.
Yes.
It's the same way as titles. I mean, when I moved back into government, I could never understand this thing of everybody addresses each other by title. And I still don't understand it. 8 years later, I still don't understand it. But it's, and there I agree with you. It's not about, it shouldn't define you. I think you've put it in its best way possible. Coming back to the breakthrough experience.
Yes.
And I must admit, it's a book I've put off to reading for a very long time. So you've raised me one day. Yeah. You've raised me one. Anywhere else you haven't raised me one, but you've raised me one day. As a wager, you've raised me one day.
Yeah.
Similarly to Conversations with God, you've raised me 2 days. And I'll stay in my lane until I've read the book. That's when I'll come and see you in studio. But
Good.
Conversations with the breakthrough experience by Dr. John DiMartini. Now, he defines wealth in a different manner, with us going from loving what you do, to being able to say, what becomes the lens from which we go? Not too shabby, Thabo, not too shabby. And I want to talk about the different bits of it, the spiritual side of it, the financial side of it, the physical, the health, and the family, which is, I say to a lot of people, today we are great business successes, but we are similarly great family failures.
Yeah.
But the social and ultimately everything that goes through. You can start anywhere where you want to start.
It's for those who don't know, who haven't read the book yet, either the breakthrough experience or pause. Yes. John DiMartini, I remember I've interviewed him more than 3 times, and every time I meet him, I say, thank you for giving me a new pair of eyes. Yes. Because he has structure. As much as this world is complex, there's structure to it still. And here's somebody who went and studied this and find it and put it in such simpler terms for you and I to understand. You have the spiritual side to you. You have the mental side to you. You have the vocation/career side to you. You have the social side to you. There's your health, there's your money, and there's your family. All these 7 spokes are the spokes in your wheel. Like I asked earlier on, if the center can hold, things fall apart. One spoke, when it's loose, that wheel won't turn as smoothly as you expected. And most of us, some of these spokes are not balanced because we're chasing only one: finance. I want to be rich, I want to be rich, I want to be rich. But you're failing on the other ones. Hence we're saying some people are so poor, all they have is money. No family, no spiritual grounding, and so on. And some people are spiritually rich, right? That's all they have, church. They don't have anything else. They're struggling. And by the way, your fears of life are in the 7.
Okay. Somewhere in here.
In still 7. Yeah. You have 7 fears. Then you know how to manage them. Yes. It's not just fear. Where is it sitting? In which department? Hey, I won't make it end of this month. The debit orders are killing me. That's fear in financial sense. Oh, I'm going to the doctor because it's my annuals. Oh, my blood pressure is high. Fear. Right? Oh, you know, we've got this debilitating disease in the family, it's chronic, and I think it's affecting my last born. Fear. You name it, so on and so forth. There's also the fear of losing influence.
Losing power.
Losing power. Remember, your influence and power is from your social networks. And your social networks meaning your chosen family and friends. Your immediate chosen family, kids, wife, right? Or just partner, right? That's influence right there. Because why? That's the one place you are heard and understood.
Yes.
Right? And it also comes with tensions. Your chosen family, you are not understood, you are not heard. Where are you supposed to go? You're only heard and understood outside. Go to or go office. So your career,
you can see them in the office.
Yes, career gives you career gives you influence, but not at home. And that's why they say, oh, well, what is going through? You are up for promotion. You know what I mean? Yes. So these are the 7 I'm talking about. And I was saying, Hori, even how we measure success, we must measure it from this 7, not on 1. One of the 7 is not success.
Yes.
Out of 10 in all 7, are you at least hitting 5 out of 10? Are you 5 out of 10 in finances? Are you 5 out of 10 in terms of your own health? Yes. Are you 5 out of 10 in terms of your friends and family, your health, your religion, you name it? Or from all the 7? Are you at least 50% with all of them? I'm telling you, you are more successful than most people.
At least you didn't do a 30%. So, having understood that, and a lot of people is what do they call it? We are raised to believe that money is everything.
Yeah.
You know, some people are raised to believe that spirituality is everything. And some people are, what do they call it? Are raised to know that, you know, your vocation is everything.
Yeah.
Your work defines who
that's
you
why
are.
you must call yourself with the title.
Yeah.
Yes, Chief.
You know, very few people are raised to be able to think of their physical health unless their pain came from losing a loved one. And therefore, one sits with that pain of like, man, I better look after myself. It's it's more a, what do they call it? Now, how does one create the balance? And I can hear it out there, and what do they call it? Sometimes I can hear as we're talking here, and I can just about visualize that person saying, but Tibos, where do I start?
We all have 24 hours. Okay, we all have 24 hours.
Yes.
All right. Let me give you my day.
Yeah.
I'm in bed, average 11 o'clock.
Okay.
5 o'clock I'm up.
Okay, that's 6 hours of sleep.
6 hours of sleep. And trust me, it's not like I'm lucky to get 4 hours of sleep. 5 o'clock I'm up, 6 o'clock I'm in the gym. I train for an hour, okay, mostly cardio, because I'm beyond chasing a six-pack. I'm just basically trying to stay vital.
You maintaining.
I'm staying vital.
Yes.
And let me tell you what my motivation is there. I don't want to change the size of my clothes. That's my motivation.
That's your motivation?
That's my motivation.
Okay.
So there's a shirt in my closet.
Yes.
When it doesn't fit, then I know I'm in trouble. That's my measure.
We all have one.
Yes. I don't measure the success of that gym getting onto the barricking, the scale.
Yeah.
No, I don't get on the scale. The scale will tell you something else. And then I'm in the station 7:30 without fail for a 9 o'clock show.
Okay.
Prep it proper. By the time I get on air, I know what's happening. Content, music, and everything else. Execute that until 12. Between 12 and 1, meeting regarding the station, the show, what needs to be done. Then off into other meetings. Today, extraordinary because I have to be here and so on. By 5 o'clock, I am home.
5 o'clock in the afternoon?
In the afternoon. I am home. Kids are here. I can see them still playing. Dad is home. I don't have to do anything. The fact that I'm there, they will find a way to get me busy.
To get you doing something.
Right? Sometimes that 5 o'clock, even if I'm just sitting on the couch, I can't help but snooze because I've been up now for 12 hours.
Yeah.
Right? Snooze a bit, wake up, then I'm energetic to do other things. Right? Wait for my wife to go and do her work. If I'm studying or I'm writing the book, when she starts her show, I start working.
Okay.
For that 2 hours. Why? Because when she gets back, I must be fully attentive to her.
Yes.
I don't want to be working because she's unless then it's pressing.
Yeah, there's something that's pressing.
So what I'm saying to you is, you are able to partition your day to find those things happen. And then, before COVID times, she knew without fail, laborar or Friday, not both. Laborar or Friday,
Okay.
And because o 10, o tswa ka 3 ya masa. O rapetse modimo, mo rapetse, o mopeletse, le wena you are revived. I go home, sleep. By 10, 11, I'm up. We get on with it again.
Okay.
So you see, I'm ticking that box there.
Yes.
I'm ticking that box there. Financially, on the finance side, I did a show this year when we started. I said, we are quick to make plans. And you know the audacity of humans. We make plans and we don't invite the one who gave us this life to give us direction of what this year has in store for us.
Yes.
And I thought, because we live in the new age, let me not do the prophet thing.
Yes.
Simple. Let's bring what people have access to.
Yeah.
What is Tasai?
And all of those things.
I also brought economists on that show. I said, what does this year have in store for us? All of them agreed it's going to be a very tumultuous year for financially for all of us.
Yeah.
1. 2, if you're a go-getter, you'll make it because the planet Saturn is in control.
Yes.
And that's the planet of go-getters. So, okay, now we know. Make your plans.
Yeah.
And then I asked the economist, advise me, how do I survive this year? He said, save.
Okay.
The little that you can. Instead of buying that coffee, save that money. If you're going to buy yourself a bagaya 60 rand, buy something that can still fill you up for half that money and put away the 30 rands. At the end of the year. I'm giving you tools to do what? To surf this wave, 2023, hoping that 2024 will be better. But the projection is until 2027, we're going to be in this state.
Okay.
Right? So now you have tools. Nothing can surprise you now.
Yeah.
Even if it comes as a surprise, but at least you're equipped. Now, that's me dealing with the financial side of things. So now, I'm now conscious in every decision I make. Do I still yearn to stop there by Vita Cafe? Of course I do.
Yes.
Maybe I can do it once a week.
Yeah.
Not every day. How about a Friday?
Yes.
As a reward. You're getting closer and closer to that. And I love the Discovery Bank, what it's doing now. They are saying it's a behavioral bank.
Yeah.
You behave, you get the rewards.
Yes, you get the rewards.
So they're giving you a reward for doing what? For saving.
Yeah.
Even if it's 500 rands a month.
Yeah.
Remember, it's not about what you're going to get out of it. It's the discipline it gives you, which then affects other aspects of your life.
Yeah.
Because once you start doing it, and they say if you do it even for 22 days without stopping, it becomes a habit.
Yeah.
And that's all we're saying.
Yeah.
Can you ace it? I think you can. Now you see on social media, people save 85 ranta, no, whatever coins I have, I throw them in a 5-liter thing, and then at the end of the year, it's my reward. All those people are winning. Actually, those people are richer than most of us.
Yes.
Because of what? Of the discipline
that lies behind it.
The moment you start feeling poor, ask yourself why. Is it because you're not doing anything here, or is it because of
Yes.
You're comparing. And then envy is the biggest thief of joy.
Yeah. Tibos, with all of that put in one place, you know, we with all of that, there's the bit where one has to commit, and in a personal sense, commit. And you know, in the book, you tell the story of the founder of DRIP.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
My guy.
Yes.
The chairman.
Yes. And I like what do they call the chapter, you call it Self-Reach.
Yeah.
And I looked at it, and normally when I read a book, I open up the, what do they call it, the index, and I look at this and I thought, what fridges did this man sell? So I went down to that chapter because, you know, and I went to the chapter and like, there's incredible insight. And to me, I was left with one simple question. What is my fridge that I'm going to sell?
Yeah.
Or, you know, but let's tell the story first before everybody can understand.
Yes.
What does it mean, sell the fridge?
Likau Suhana, the founder of Drip, a boy from Ivory Park in Tibos.
Yes.
He's going to this incubation. And in that incubation is him, is Theo Batu, and others. They're starting brands, they're starting things. By the way, he got there because he was selling eggs, hustling.
Yeah.
Mom, a domestic worker, and he's got siblings. For some reason, he took it upon himself that I have to hustle to get my family out of poverty. They are living in a squatter camp. Informal settlements, I apologize.
Yeah.
And while he's there, for him to even yield the first pair of shoes, he needs to have a mold, the mold to make the shoes.
To make the shoes.
And then the manufacturer will then just use them, you know, their process to make the shoes, but they need the mold. That mold is going to cost 5,000 rands at the time. He needs 5,000 rands like yesterday. He goes home, and that's the first thing he belts out to his mother. So this is where I am. I'm stuck. Now. God's gift, mothers. It's an informal settlement. I can picture it. He takes pictures. He shows pictures of this house. It's made out of
corrugated iron.
Corrugated iron. A fridge in a corrugated iron house tells you something. It's a source of pride.
Yes.
I finally managed to get myself this. It's an achievement. It's an achievement. I've achieved something.
Yes.
From the menial, not even living wage.
Yes.
But I managed to save up to buy a fridge for my kids. Here comes this boy. Says, I need this. And she sits and says, sell the fridge. Huh? Sell the fridge. With meaning, with conviction.
Yes.
It moves Likau to pick up that fridge, put it on a wheelbarrow. As it steps out, because remember it's an informal settlement. Wait, I'm not stealing. No, do more. No, I'm selling it. Why? Because we need money. This gentleman says, how much are you selling it for? He says, 5,000 rands. Are you sure? Yeah, okay. I need a fridge. God's timing. As he steps out, he meets a table. So I need a fridge. Hurry, push it, take it to my house. Then the guy says, no, but where's the money? No, I don't have the money. Hurry. Takes to the house and says, here's the money. He comes back, he shows his mother, how? So you take a speed disorder. Yeah. God's timing.
Yeah.
And today we have Drip stores, more than 30 of them, employing more than 200 families.
Yes.
I'm careful in saying families.
Yeah.
I'm not saying 200 people.
Yeah.
Because each person goes back to a family.
Yes. And an extended family.
Selling that fridge today has created a group of companies. Where there's support, vision can help us thrive.
Where there's support.
You will never gain anything without self-sacrifice. Today, that mother has 2 mansions. 2. She doesn't know where to sleep. To a point that she has asked him to stop. No, but this is not enough. No,
But, you know, this is an incredible lesson in leadership.
Oof.
And in its simplicity, the question I'm asking, and somebody is what fridge is one going to sell as a leader?
Oh, yeah.
To be able to get his people to move.
How much are you going to self-sacrifice
Yes.
to yield the results? Because that's self-sacrifice. How much of your own possession, not material in this case,
but also how much of your ego are you going to let go of?
Thank you.
Because when you look at the mother letting go of a pride and joy and a personal possession that probably she had toiled for years.
Are you willing, CEO, to strip that title and listen to ladies in the tea room? Because there's wisdom there. Are you willing to sell the pride that comes with the pleasure and the opulence of your office to go learn? Why? Because it's important to keep yourself grounded, 1. 2, to continuously learn. You will never learn if you know. But if you assume that you don't, you're always open to learn.
I still say it's an incredible lesson in leadership. Sell the fridge. Sell what do they call it? Sell everything they've told you in MBA class.
I am still honored that he allowed me to write that. Because I had to ask permission.
You had to ask the permission for that.
Yeah.
I am intrigued by it. It's like
he told that story on my show, but
yes.
And I was like, look how this is too powerful.
Yes.
He's still yet to write his own book, by the way.
No, he's still, both of them with Theo, they still need to get on with it.
Yeah. Another Theo, they still need to
They need to get on with it. And what I like about them is that, you know, there's co-opetition between them. So they hang out together and they talk to each other.
The captains of industry.
Yes.
The future.
Now, there are people who are saying, okay, I was raising like this and like that. And they concentrate quite a lot on that. Or this and that happened to me in the past. In relationships, people do that. You know, the test of the spot on the white page.
Oh, yes, the dot effect.
The dot effect. There's a lot of dots in life.
Oh, yes.
As Thabo Mokwele says, there are many dots in life.
Dots.
And then, I've never thought of it in that sense. How many people out there are incapable of letting go of the dot?
Yeah. Many. You and I included, by the way.
Yes, yes.
Because it's a conscious thing. It's an intentional thing. To see the page, not the dot. You must be intentional.
Yes.
To rise above your circumstances and see the context of where you are. There's a lot of analogies being used about the rich man in Babylon writes about that as well, the book, if you've read it. The man who has dug and he found one diamond and the other one kept on digging, finding nothing. He left where he was digging to dig where the one diamond came from. Until where he's living, he was 5 meters away from generational wealth.
Yes.
Okay, so it also speaks to that. Are you able to rise above it to see the full picture of who and where you are?
Yeah.
Sometimes we time our progression based on others. You and I sitting here, we don't move at the same speed.
Yes.
We may be of the same age, same education, same interest, but our timing is not the same. Now I had to learn that I'm a late bloomer in everything that I do. My peers will be ahead of me, and I had to make peace with that. And I'm fine. Since I've accepted it, I'm fine. So you may be a late bloomer watching this. Accept that you are one. And that's your dot.
Yes.
But do not look at yourself as slow. Look at yourself as my time is coming, right? But at the same time, do not sit on your laurels. There's a tension point there.
Yes.
In relationship, the dot effect is arna chelet. Marla ratan. Frigid Marana shelter cold drink. The dot is Haruna cold drink. Now you're gonna sleep. Ogarili logo ya kapa.
Because I want a cold drink.
Because I want a cold drink. Marle jinal codes. With load shedding alone, you still afforded an inverter.
Yes.
Lights are on. Bana barobala kata.
Yes.
The dot has taken over. It has become bigger than the page. Do you understand?
Yeah.
So it's important that when you do the dot effect or the dot effect exercise, you need to always remember there's a bigger picture. The relationship in this example is the page.
Yes.
The lack of content is a dot. Weigh the two. Is the tension and the fight, low quarterana, really valuable? Is it really worthy of the attention you're giving it?
Or maybe let's put it in what they call it, in the terms that most people I find them fighting about. Everything is all there.
Oh gosh! Oh no!
You know why is it?
You know
that
what?
we
You
don't
know why
have
I'm
those
laughing?
cars?
I love the fact that I write about them in chapters, of course.
Yes.
The one you just explained now, Thabo Mokwele, Banalkole, is different.
Yes.
That's the envy part.
Yes.
It's a chapter on envy, right? I'm laughing because these things interwoven.
Yeah.
You cannot separate them. And it goes back to the very same fact that you have everything, eh? And chances are even your love is better. But you don't see it because you're busy envious of others. Enjoy. Love. Appreciate what you have. And see what happens when you do that.
But Tibos, isn't this a lesson in gratitude? In being grateful? Because when you go to the college, when you are grateful, you know, your buts are not, when you're saying but I actually have eaten today. I may not have that BMW, but you know, and I made it to work, and I have a good job.
I'm safe.
Yes, I
made it back, and I'm safe.
Yes, and to me, it also brings us to, you know, the next bit of our conversation. It's the detachment from the spirituality.
I find these days we complicate simple things.
Tell me more about this complicating simple things. I'm good at that anyway. So
Yes.
I'm an engineer.
I mean it's simple, right?
Yes.
What you just asked is a simple question, spirituality. Yes. But go to spirituality in its own, it's very complex.
Yes.
And the minute you say spirituality, people are tender. What told me? What you are a spiritual being yourself.
Yes.
Right? Whether you pray or not,
yeah.
Whether you believe or not, you are a spiritual person. Finish.
Yeah.
Right? Gratitude. Gratitude. You are thankful. And you know how to be thankful. That also proves your spirituality. Because the more you say thank you, the more blessings you get. Right? It's as simple as respecting a waiter. As much as you are paying for that service,
yes,
respecting them gives you even a better service. That's gratitude. There are so many ways of showing it. There's so many ways of saying it. There's so many ways of giving it.
Yes.
Yes, you are right. I'm agreeing with you when I say it starts with gratitude, being thankful.
Yeah.
And many people show their gratitude in different ways. For me, it starts with a kneel on the floor. First, to the one who has made it possible. And second, to my family. And third, to whoever has extended favor to me. Because if you've extended favor to me, you've extended it to my family. That's why I give it first to the one who has inspired you to help me. Because my family is benefiting from it. And that's gratitude. It's very powerful. The more grateful we are, the better. My problem with gratitude, and black people were rich with gratitude. Even when we are going through the toughest of times, right? We are grateful. My only problem with it is, somebody said it better, it says, there's a pothole. Right, thank God, mina ngenanga kuyo. It doesn't mean that must stop your vigilance.
Yes.
To make those who you put in power to be responsible for that.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As long as we understand where it starts and it ends, it mustn't be our, or the word just escaped me now, it mustn't be our condition.
Yeah.
Because then it becomes the condition of the meek.
You see,
when it is actually a strength.
you're reminding me of an issue. Jordan B. Peterson says the word meek is the most misinterpreted word in the word of the Ecolite in scriptures. And his definition still to me strikes me as one of the most interesting things anybody has ever said. He says when they say the meek shall inherit the earth, they don't mean the weak. They mean those who have swords sheathed on their waist and know how to use them, but still keep them sheathed on their waist. Those who have power and know how to use it, but still keep it within them to not unleash havoc on the world. Those are the people that will inherit the earth. And it's an incredible way of looking at it. But getting back to what they call it, to the thoughts.
No, I like it because,
Yes.
because let's bring it home.
Yes.
Let's bring it home, and I want to, and I'm glad you taught me something. One up on you.
Yes.
Mama Miriam Makeba said the same thing differently.
Yes.
He said the humble survives.
Okay.
That's the meek that you
Yes.
just explained. Walk all over me, but still stand tall.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean I'm weak.
Yes.
It's the humility that grounds me, that you see as weakness. Yet when I speak, you will then feel the power that I have inside of me.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's incredible there. But going back to a lot of things, you're a highly spiritual man.
Thank you.
And that shows in your grounding, and that shows in what do they call it, in the blessings you've received. But beyond that, you have a definition of what love is. You know,
Which one did I write in the book? That's so many.
but the one that brings us back to spirituality. You know, they say God is love, but I could never ever understand it until I read this book.
Yeah.
What does that mean? I have my own interpretation of it.
Tell me. I'm interested.
I'm not the one who's getting into you.
I know. But like you said, it's an e-lunch conversation,
Yes.
which is, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it because I think it brings. I like the fact that it doesn't steal away from the book.
Yes.
It just gives those the in between the lines gaps and context to some of these things.
Yeah.
Let me add another definition on the God is love thing. I remember sitting with a Muslim friend of mine, and when you talk about people who exemplify fear God, by the way, the word fear means venerate.
Yes.
We just latter-day English just
Yes.
simplified it for us to understand it.
Yes.
Because fear is the opposite of love, if you think about it.
Yes.
You'll never love if you're fearful.
Remind me, I'll tell you what do they call it? A saying I use when I advise couples.
I'll come back to that. So this Muslim friend of mine, he says, before you say you love someone, are you therefore saying, as a God-venerating person or God-fearing person, that should God drop here between you and that person and ask you a simple question? It says, one person must die between the two of you. Who? If you truly love them, in God's eye, you must say me.
Wow.
That blew my mind.
Wow.
Because it means I'll do anything for them to be happy to be here.
Yes.
That's love. God is love. And then you understand the sacrificial side of God in terms of him showing love. Whether be Christian, Muslim, or Jew. or even Hindu, you see it then immediately. So when you say God is love, it is layered. But I think when I bring it to the human experience like I just did, because think about it, we're on earth looking for a life partner, somebody to share our life with, right? And to love. I mean, what's the point? I mean, even the character, even when you watch me, Joe Black, you watch it and it talks about love. It's about business, but it talks about love. So what's the point of making this journey and not having fully loved? William Parrish, the character, William Parrish, talks about it too, to the daughter. What is the point of making this journey without fully loving? So when you say God is love, it's like, that's exactly that. Exactly that. Are you willing to take that sword that the angel of death will stab you with instead of your chosen partner? Instead of is that what you mean when you say you love someone?
As you bring up the word venerate versus fear, when we sit as men the day before the wedding and we spend a lot of time with the guy who's getting married, one of the things I always tell a lot of guys in the earlier part while they're still looking for partners, never marry a woman you don't fear.
Ooh.
And, as you say to me, like, you venerate, the one you, and that's a better way of what do they call it? Venerate is a bit of a big word and guys might not know what they call it.
Yeah.
And I will explain it in that sense. But you brought a thought back to me.
Yeah.
Never marry a woman you don't fear, because it's a...
If I was in that meeting, I would have said, as Abuti Tsepo said, I'm going to put it to you this way.
Yeah.
My brother, you want a happy marriage?
Yeah.
Answer her phone.
Yes.
Answer her phone. I don't care whether the CEO says give us a report. When it rings, answer that phone. You know why?
Yeah.
It shows respect, not only to her, but to those around you. Even if when you're in bad company, answer her phone. It shows respect. And it shows what you value more.
Yes. My good friend Majala Dwaba calls his wife the one who must be obeyed.
And we're not talking it from, you see, and that's strength, eh?
Yes. Yes.
Because, Barry, I remember there's a part where I talk about my dad.
Yes.
How he venerated my mother. His friends saw it. Yes,
okay.
If I am bewitched by her, trust me, I paid the fees for it. In essence.
That is incredible. I mean, when you think about it, I think some of these words, and what I'm loving with this conversation is that it brings up thoughts.
Yes. And that's the intention behind
That's the intention. And it's a beautiful book. I mean, and it would be a miss of me. I need to get to the questions. There's a lot of them today. I need to get to the questions. Yeah. Me and you can talk till the cows come home, and they are coming home.
Yeah.
There's a bit where, you don't say respect is end. You say submission
is inspired.
Is inspired. Yes. Submission is inspired.
Submission is inspired.
What a play with words.
And actually that was not the intention. The intention was to drive the message home.
It does drive the message home.
And because I have found that we have this constantation between submission and respect, we feel is the same thing.
Yes.
Because God said, men love your woman, women respect the man, therefore the man expected respect, therefore to come as form of submission. Whoa.
Yes.
Whoa. He said, the foundation of you being together is you must inspire the respect first by declaring your love for her.
But you could have said respect is end. I mean, we would have been at ease with it.
No.
We could have been at ease
not
with it.
In this context.
We could have been at ease with it.
No, not in this context. Because when I say inspire, inspire is exactly the value that you also hold high as a man.
Yes.
It's something you understand, it's something that you also want for yourself. So when I put it like that, you hear it very quickly. to say, oh my word, if I'm inspired by Tsepo Merukum,
Yes.
so this man is basically saying I must inspire my wife the way Tsepo inspires me at work. Is that the end? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Are you taking care of her? Mm-hmm. It doesn't end with a rent. End. Does it go beyond that? Can you anticipate her needs before she even asks? You know the workings of your home. Are you paying attention? Yeah. Are you watching? You need a manicure?
Yeah.
Are you watching? Since when I'm an analyst? Oh, woman. You need a fellow lady be right. I'd rather you look good than for me to quench your thirst, Limajit. That in itself immediately, trust me, the return on investment on that is big. It's huge. Because she says, I know this money was supposed to go for beers. He says, I must go do my nails. She's going to go there, do her nails with pride. What happens when she comes back? She now switches on her sixth sense, anticipating your needs before you even walk in. Now, you walk in, she's wearing your favorite dress, cooking your favorite meal, right? And then, ke Friday, Sunday. No. Monaka ajiji to strate. Do la fast. And then, the tray on your lap, please eat. And she's not eating. You're like, why? No, but eat something. No. If she can explain why she's full, she'll be able to say to you, I am so happy I'm full because of the love you show me. I don't need anything else. I just want to see you being equally satisfied the way I am satisfied.
Yes.
Hence, I'm saying submission is not demanded, it's inspired.
I still say, Thabo, you could have said respect is end, man. But I was given a script and I broke it. But
oh my word.
I think this is a 20-second show and everybody has always known that I break it. I want to go back to questions from online. And
okay.
Who have gone and done their research.
Okay.
They say you owe me a book. The one that comes from the You For Me movement.
Why you for me?
Why you for me?
Why you for
me? What do they call it? And somebody is asking a simple thing. What happened to the why me for me?
The why you for me movement. The why you for me hasn't really died down. It's actually coming back this May.
Okay.
It's the first one after COVID. Yeah. It is capitally a little bit intensive to put together.
Okay.
Because what we're trying to do is have couples come together.
Okay.
And share knowledge. The village.
Yes.
The tenet of it all is that whatever you're going through, not going through it alone. Let's all share. And you'll find your solution in the problem that you have sorted out can help the other. Or whatever the case may be. But at least a sense of community, right? Which is the village. So we're having one earmarked for this May. Where we will have couples, and the details will soon be online.
Yes.
Like I said, it's a couples seminar, and the intention is to not make people pay arm and a leg for it, because it's not even about that. It's about, let's come together and try and build healthy relationships.
Yeah. All right, I've got a question here. What do you want to be remembered for?
This. A man who came on, did what he loved, and shared his collection of knowledge and access with everyone else, and showed the world what is possible. Because I think that is timeless.
Incredible. And you, from that first question you asked is, who is Thabo? And you didn't answer it. I think you learned a few things from that day.
Yes.
Somebody asked a very beautiful question here. In a world where hustling and securing the bag is the big motive. How do we pause? How do we stop and reflect?
Every moment you get, do it. Because you don't want to lose yourself in that race. We know what hustling does.
Yes.
We know what being self-employed does.
Yeah.
It's a 24-hour job, right? You can't even sleep properly. There's a chapter where I talk about how is 24 hours is a 24-hour day enough. And it's exactly that. You need to find a moment to pause. And I'm not saying use the industrialist era or where you must wake up at 6 to start work at 9. No. Find your own rhythm that works for you. If sleeping at 2 in the morning, waking up at 8 in the morning works for you, then do it, but maintain it, right? And soon, within that rhythm, find a moment to pause, to always evaluate what's more important. Because it's not about the bag if you really think about it. It's about provision. It's about, a comfortable life. It's about making sure that if you have offspring, they get a better chance at life. It's about raising the bar. There's more to it than just the bag. So when something on the table is served and it doesn't suit those values, because you were able to pause to know who you are, you're going to walk away from that table because it's not really about the money.
I'm going to leave this question towards the end. I thought I was going to ask you a different question towards the end, but I think this is an incredible question, and I'm going to leave it there.
Okay, don't forget it.
I know, I won't forget it. I won't forget it.
Yeah.
It's the question that allows us to pause, and it's going to force you to pause again. In your intent of writing this book, there's loads of motivations. There's a lot of learning that you've learned. But at the core, what was your why?
And I struggled with that why for a while. Until I realized, one, my character, and two, what God has basically given me to be this person. What do you want? I'm a student of life, really. I'm the eternally curious being.
The perpetual student.
Yeah, the perpetual student. Honestly, is that me?
Yes.
And I was like, okay. And therefore it is then.
Yeah.
It is then. Because I can't help but gravitate towards that.
Yeah.
It pulls me like gravity. And that's my why. And when I have it, I can't wait. It's like, Bosaning. Let's switch on that microphone.
Yes.
Hey guys, guess what? This is what I heard.
Do you find yourself in the middle of the evening?
Oozing. I'm like, yo. Now, let me show you.
Yes.
A day before yesterday, I get invited to a sector transformation seminar.
Yeah.
Agriculture.
Yeah.
I get invited.
Yes.
And I go there. And I sit. They're talking language. The hectares a little.
Yes.
Okay. And then this gentleman is in his 70s. He's been doing it for years. And then he speaks. God, I wanted that moment to cut and put it on air.
It was spiritual.
It was passion exemplified.
Yes.
He's a billionaire, right? But that's not why he did it.
Yeah.
He is an accountant by training. He did it because they said, it's impossible. You're throwing away your money. He's like, what?
Yes.
No.
I'm going to do it.
And the minute he started doing Pratsep, he's like, I'm a white South African. And my black men, fellow men, don't know what I know. Nonsense. Wow. He then used his money to train black farmers. He picked 50 farmers from across the country.
Yes.
47 are commercial farmers today.
Wow. That's an incredible.
Oh, come on.
That's an incredible success rate.
Okay, that's why I was here.
That's an incredible success rate.
Incredible success rate.
Yeah, that's an incredible success rate.
That is Nilke Serfontein of Cernik from Kronstadt.
Yeah, that's an incredible.
An inspiring man. Inspiring man. I left there. He has a new fan, and that's not his intention, but he can't help it. He's got me now.
This is my second last question because I can see that I'm like just because the question
we can't extend hunting. No, I'm used to 3-hour shows.
One day I'll do a 3-hour show. Eventually, this is about you mastering the self.
Yeah.
Pulling yourself towards yourself.
Mm-hmm.
What does self-mastery mean to you? And remember what you get, the product of self-mastery will become something else. And I'll ask that question just immediately. Yeah. But that's not the last question. That is part of this question.
Yeah, it's a journey for me.
Okay.
It's a journey for me. And that's why the introduction to the book is positioned the way it has been, because it's a journey. Will I ever reach that level? Mm-hmm. I'm not sure. Maybe. I'm hoping. Well, when you go into, the Buddhist, sect, so to speak, or religion or practice, they talk about gurus.
Yes.
Will I ever reach that level? I don't know. But at least what I know is that the perpetual student of life is actually not only just learning, is also applying. And in that application, I can feel it, I can see it, I'm becoming a better person. I'm a better lover now. And she is beaming. And you can see it. And it's not of my own doing, because she's a teacher herself. And I'm glad to be molded by her. I'm a better father because I got an affirmation from my dad before his passing to say, you have taught me how a better father is.
Yeah.
From my dad.
Wow.
And those are the things that I'm saying, okay, I'm ticking boxes. I'm hoping to tick all 7.
Yes, all 7 at one point in time. As my daughter would say, this is the question that needs to be asked, because if it doesn't get asked, it will tear a hole in the fabric of the universe.
Yeah.
If you had an opportunity, what would you say to the 2 cuckoos and Mama today?
Oh man, my girls.
Yes.
Is that your last question?
That is the question.
No, you punched me now. Oh my word.
I told you, it's a question that will tear, what do they call it, a hole into the fabric of the universe.
I wouldn't even wish. I will just say, stay a little while.
Yes.
Because you see what I did there?
Yeah.
I have removed them from the celestial side to our physical. I'll say, please stay a little while. Even if it's just for 15 minutes, I just want to look at you again.
Yes.
That's it. Because I know their learnings, their wisdom lives in me. Their love, palpable. Mm-hmm. I just miss the physicality of seeing them. I yearn for them in my dreams. My wife will tell you, should I wake up, have dreamt of my mother, the joy I wake up with. I wake up beaming. I have been shaped by women.
Yes.
It's no question. And I still have a blessing in having a wife who is also an embodiment of their values. And I have a daughter who I've named after my Sabina. Mm-hmm. And without her knowing, she's just that powerhouse. I have kids that I've named after those greats.
Yes.
I mean, my last born is named after my mom. And I know there's still fire coming. So, to your daughter for giving you that pearl, thank you. Because yes, you're right. I think this is going to be the highlight of my conversation with you for asking that question. It's never been asked before. It's exactly that. Oh man, just stay a little while. That would be my
strangely enough, when you started talking, my mother called.
The matriarchs are talking.
My mother called. I'm still grateful to get and answer the call. And I always see these posts about, if you see this call and you still get it, please answer it, because you are blessed. So
you are blessed.
My mother called. Tibos, if you were to be left to be able to live, remember you owe me the second book. So I'm going to say it publicly. So you owe me the second book. This is an incomplete book. So I'm going to say it publicly. You owe me the second book. There's a lot, Tibos, we've discussed here. That's not in the book, but that's still, or you have to do an updated version of the book. But there's so much we've shared, and I always believe that, and I thought about it, and I looked at our raising, the similarities in the paths that we walked, and including the things that we enjoy doing that are outside of our normal, training and all of that. And I thought, this is going to be an epic, what do they call it, conversation. Yeah. And as I said to you, it's going to be two engineers discussing about the books they've read and things they've heard. Yes. And it's been a, what do they call it, a wonderful moment. But if you had to be left with one wish, your African dream, what would it be? Both for the book, for Tibos, and for the world at large.
Less fear to share.
Okay.
My one wish is for less fear to share our own stories, our own thoughts. We were socialized not to believe in our own voices. My one wish is beyond me, is for you and I and our village, this village. But let's not be afraid to share. You never know what you have that may plant a seed for the next person. My one wish is exactly that. We are in an era right now, in fertile soil, to start telling our own stories. Tell it.
Thank you, Tibos. All that is left for me is for me to not only thank you, but to thank the publishers, Tracy McDonald Publishers, for allowing us to have this conversation.
Hello, T.
My board, to what do they call it, to allow us to still continue with this, the CEO and everybody else who works behind this. But beyond everything else, the team that puts this together. Every time you say, we've got a big one for you. And when the book arrives, I am always elated about what needs to happen next. And to that, I will say to you, from me, thank you, and it's been a good evening.